Let's get a little more on the story. Tarkan Bateshavi was born in Georgia and went by the name Abu Omar al Shishani. He was the sergeant in the Georgian army before becoming a senior commander for Daesh in Syria and in Iraq. Well, Shishani surfaced in Syria in 2012 as a leader of an armed group made up of foreign fighters. In mid-2013, he and his group pledged allegiance to Daesh. Daesh appointed Shishani as a senior military commander in northern Syria. He took charge of all major battles against the Syrian regime, Syrian opposition factions, and the YPG, which is the Syrian branch of the PKK terror group. The Pentagon announced in March that Shishani had likely been killed by a US airstrike in northeastern Syria. Daesh rejected that claim and instead says he was killed in a battle against Iraqi forces near Mosul. To get a bit more understanding about the significance of Shishani's death, let's speak to Middle East analyst Firas Ali, joining us live from London. Many thanks for joining us today, Firas. Now, can I start by asking you, why has Daesh only now acknowledged his death when the Pentagon actually told us back in March that he was killed?
Well, it's quite probable that the Pentagon thought that they had gotten him by targeting his convoy and that their claim was inaccurate.
But why would Daesh acknowledge it in the first place? Why would they feel the need to acknowledge it?
They've been trying to spin a narrative where what they say about themselves is true. So, for instance, when they claimed the attack against the Russian jet in Sinai, they were quite adamant in refusing to release proof and in saying that you just had to take their claims on face value. So if that is the mindset that they have, then it's quite probable that this is in fact how Shishani died, probably while he was in Iraq preparing for the defense of Mosul and defending that broad front line, given his experience in a somewhat similar terrain in northern Syria.
How influential was he as a member of Daesh?
Well, you never really know exactly how their bureaucracy works, except from what they say about it and the documents that you sort of find associated with them. On paper, he would have had command over various battles and would have been managing resources along these battles, as well as taking a frontline command position. So it's not necessarily the case that he was their war minister. They don't seem to have officially acknowledged him as such. But he was definitely a senior and inspirational commander and very important for mobilizing the Caucasian and Chechen and Central Asian forces.
In terms of strategy by the US and those fighting Daesh, getting rid of a leader of an organization, terrorist organization such as this, how effective is it in terms of weakening the organization? Or do terrorist groups recover easily from something like this?
In military terms, it's an important blow to their morale. They do expect martyrdom, but when their leaders get killed, it definitely does have an impact. This kind of organization has regenerated leadership in the past, and if it has a level of support among the Sunni community, it'll be able to regenerate again. And this is really the key problem, the fact that while these organizations, once they seize territory, become much more vulnerable to conventional warfare, it's the underlying thought processes and potential to recruit further that is the real threat here. And that is a quite different battle than the military one.
Just one more question for you, Firas. We've heard in recent days, in the recent weeks, from the US and others that the West seems to be winning the war against Daesh in parts of Iraq and so on. What is your assessment of the fight against Daesh? Where are we now?
Militarily, they're definitely on the back foot and they're losing more and more territory. They've lost more than a quarter of the territory that they had at their peak. In terms of political Islam more broadly, it's suffering very serious crises. In Tunisia, the Muslim Brotherhood has sort of abandoned joining Islam to politics. Turkey has just made a major foreign policy turnaround. And the sort of most extreme of the groups is really getting a military hammering. So I expect this to trigger some kind of political opportunity as a crisis in political Islam develops.
Okay, really good to speak to you. Firas Abi Ali, a Middle East analyst, joining us from London. Many thanks.
Thank you very much.